In the days after immigration agents killed 2 U.S. citizens earlier this year, a man named David Striever was angry. He wrote an email to then acting ICE Director Todd Lyons, letting him know what he thought of him and President Trump's immigration crackdown. 5 months later, Striever says federal agents showed up at his Rochester, New York door to serve him a warning notice. It read, quote, "You may be in violation of a federal law." He was on a trip abroad at the time. They left the notice with his wife. Then Striever says agents later tried to confront him at a hotel in New York City, but were sent away by the hotel's staff. Now, Striever, along with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, is suing DHS for violating his right to political speech under the First Amendment. Striever is one of at least 2 residents in upstate New York who were served warning notices that same day for criticizing ICE online. Let's bring in JT Morris, Deputy Director at FIRE, the nonprofit that is representing Striever. JT, it's good to have you. In response to this lawsuit, DHS says in part, quote, "Any allegation DHS and its components are attempting to squash free speech is categorically false. Our officers are experiencing coordinated campaigns of violence against them and facing a 1,300% increase in assaults against them, a 3,300% increase in vehicular attacks, and an 8,000% increase in death threats. Anyone who assaults or threatens our law enforcement officers will face the consequences." MS Now, by the way, has not been able to verify any of those statistics. I want your response to them, though.
Yeah, my response is twofold. Number one, when you send agents to somebody's house and then the hotel they're staying at in New York City to track them down and threaten state or federal prosecution just for criticizing the head of your agency, you're trying to squelch free speech. The Constitution just simply doesn't tolerate federal agents trying to intimidate Americans like David into silence. And if they want to label David's email a threat, they're simply wrong. His email had absolutely no inkling of violent language or anything of that nature. It simply told the then acting director of ICE, Todd Lyons, "I don't approve of how you're defending these agents that shot Alex Preddy on the streets of Minneapolis." And it appealed to his sense of morality, effectively saying, "Look, Mr. Lyons, you're going to have to live with this for the rest of your life." Now, some people may think that's strongly worded, but it's the sort of strongly worded criticism that Americans have been sending to federal officials and state officials and local officials for decades, if not centuries. The First Amendment absolutely protects Mr. Striever's speech, and ICE cannot turn that into a crime simply by calling it a threat. The Constitution forecloses that.
I want to share what the email actually says so that viewers have a sense of it. Sure. And what you're describing here, too. It begins with the subject line. This is sent to Todd Lyons of ICE. What's next? It reads, "You are a monstrous human being and will go down in history as America's Reinhard Heydrich, the butcher." That's a Nazi reference. "The way you are protecting the obvious execution in Minnesota, even as we see the videos, will lead to your downfall. Even Trump will turn on you before the end, and you will be a sad, despised man who eats himself alive with shame at your own pathetic weakness. You will never know peace. You will seek to lose yourself to escape the burden of knowing the truth about yourself. But wherever you go, you will find yourself. You will torment yourself until your last day on earth." It's certainly not a friendly email, but as you said, there is no direct threat of violence or an attack or anything. He's basically saying his own guilt is going to eat him alive over the course of time. Walk me through, though, from a legal standpoint, how you defend speech like that. If you're hearing from the Trump administration, from DHS, that they view this as threatening or violent speech to compare someone to a Nazi leader, how do you counter that?
Simple. The First Amendment protects it. I mean, for centuries, Americans have engaged in harsh and caustic and strongly worded criticism of government officials. It's our American tradition. And some people might disagree with it. The government might disagree with it, but they have an opportunity to go out there and say, "No, Mr. Striever's wrong." But what they cannot do in any circumstance is send federal agents to Mr. Striever's door or any American's door, threatening them under using these intimidation tactics, and basically say, "You need to be quiet or suffer the consequences." That's not how a free nation operates. It's certainly not how a Republican system of self-government operates. And that's why we're suing. The court needs to stop these ICE agents from doing this.
Have you ever seen warnings like this from DHS officials, ICE agents in past administrations, past years?
Not to our knowledge. This is pretty unprecedented. Again, I mean, I've never seen it. Certainly we've seen a track record of ICE and DHS engaging in tactics to go after critics and go after dissenters. For example, trying to unmask anonymous critics online. We've seen them in the media making statements that they will prosecute people who photograph or observe ICE activities in public, even though the First Amendment squarely protects it. We've had several courts have to stop ICE agents from retaliating against journalists and protesters through using things like less than lethal munitions and following them to their houses and places of work. So it's really just the latest salvo in a campaign by these agencies to try to stifle out criticism that they don't disagree with, that they disagree with. But that's simply not how a free nation works.
JT Morris, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.